Hey everyone, it's another episode of Movie Mainline. We are still breathing. Before we started talking about movies, Eric Holmes, and Brucifer. Eric Holmes has this really interesting for people watching on YouTube. It says he said he actually he relieved himself before he went to before he put his pants on. So I don't know how to take that. That's very disconcerting. Let's just play rainbows and moonbeams, and let's just say he relieved himself, meaning he watched a really nice movie, which he will be talking about on Movie Mainline.
I poop in my pants before I put them on.
So maybe not. Maybe
Ralph
maybe
Wiggums.
Is that a reference to a movie, Eric Holmes, or is it just a phrase? I don't.
Nah, it sounds like something my sister would say, so I put it on there.
Oh, wow.
That's what I said. It sounds like Ralph Wiggums. Like, I'm learning. You know?
Now, who is Ralph Wiggums? So I don't even know. Who's Ralph Wiggums?
That's just that little kid on The Simpsons. It's always like saying like very sad things. It's like,
is that the one who looks sort of like Droopy, the human version
and
of
he just
Droopy?
got like hair kind of sticking out. He's like, I'm learning. Or he says things like that. And you're just like, oh no. Ralph Wiggums.
Speaking of learning, have you guys learned some new films the past week? A lot of great films, guys. I'm trying to think of what did we talk about. It's all blending. I'm wondering if I did a rewind. I was so horrible. Did you guys do rewinds this week? Eric, Bruce?
I have one. I think
yes.
One.
Okay. You know what? Without further ado, Luis is not here. Tuesdays, we FYI, going to open up the curtains. We tape on Tuesdays, and it comes up via podcast on Monday. So it's a little bit weird, but you're going to get Movie Mainline on any day. It's going to be an evergreen show anyway. So we put some of the timely stuff on Bruce Purkey's YouTube, my YouTube, and then the evergreen stuff comes out the following Monday for Movie Mainline. But that said, Luis will be back next week, I believe, for next Wednesday, because
that's my understanding.
Bruce, you are changing your schedule, right?
Yeah, it should. Next week I'm off Wednesday, and I think after that, barring a week here and there, but if that's the case, we talked about it, I could drop out for a week if I had to, or, whatever we need to do.
And I still miss those times. Movie Mainline, we do 10 to 12 movies every episode. I still miss the last couple of weeks when we actually did Miracle Mile, The Death of Dick Long. When we start having some time together, a little bit more time, we should definitely figure out, just on an off day, just one movie to do a deep dive on. And I don't know what that is. One of these days we're going to do a Billy Friedkin retrospective. I think that's going to be the big dream for all of us to do. And get
I've been I'm not going to mention any of those in the episode here because I want to save them. I'm going to save them for the when we do that. But I've been catching up on some William Friedkin, and I cannot wait for that. The William Friedkin retrospective spectacular, Movie Mainline spectacular, whatever we're going to call it. It's going to be a good time.
Well, let me throw in a teaser here, Eric Holmes. You're saying you've been catching up on Billy Friedkin movies you have seen already, or have you snuck in a couple of new ones that you haven't seen?
I'm starting at the front and working my way to the top. So starting at Good Times with Sonny and Cher, and working my way to Killer Joe.
Wow, how long will that take, Eric Holmes, for the whole way?
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of them in the middle that I've seen a million times, so I could probably skip past those. But there's a lot more than I thought would be. I'm like, there's probably 2 or 3 that I haven't seen. I look at his IMDb, and I shared his IMDb with you guys, and I was like, there's a bunch of them I haven't seen.
Yes, I have not seen this movie he did, I think, called Rampage. And please, when we start talking about William Friedkin down the road, when we do our spectacular, maybe it'll be a part 1, part 2 kind of thing. It'll be a really big extravaganza, Billy Friedkin extravaganza. I suggest everyone mute their mics, or just mute me when I start go on about The Hunted for about 30 minutes and how amazing that film is. So I apologize. This is a little teaser for me that I'm just going to really talk about the brilliance of The Hunted. Speaking of big things to do, Bruce Purkey, you've been doing a lot of your creator spotlights within the last week, right? Catch us up on that.
Yeah, I did. I think 3 the last week, but I also have a bunch of stuff in the can to edit and get out there too. I did the band Bleecker. So it's kind of interesting. I did 3 different generations. So Bleecker, they're all like young, like early 20s. So they're talking about their influential movies, and they're all within the last 10 years. And then I did
what's an influential movie? Is it Paddington 2 or something?
No, it was they had two different ones. There's two members of Bleecker. It's a 2-person band, cool. Emily and Jake. And Emily's was Lady Bird.
Oh.
And Jake's was Scott Pilgrim. So not bad. Not bad picks. And then I did kind of an extended one with my brother. He's been doing music for like 35 years in the Northwest, and he's played in a million bands and probably met every Northwest band you've ever heard of since the 80s up to like probably the thousands. But we talked about movies, and we talked about philosophy, and we talked about artificial AI, AI taking over the world, and we talked about John Waters and all kinds of weird stuff.
Dude,
so
I gotta. Well, first of all, the Bleecker one.
Yeah,
those guys, I dig their music. It's got that kind of dirty punk to it, dirty punk sound to it. But that one you did with your brother, I was like, it's almost an hour long. And it was like getting into it, and then after a while, it's like, man, they ain't talking about music or movies. They're talking about it's like the AI is gonna like overtake, and then you guys got deep in it. Watch that one. That one was fucking awesome.
That sounds like a scary episode there. That sounds very scary, Bruce.
Well, I was saying at the end of it, I said to my brother, I said, neither of us are stoned at all during this, because it sounds like a stoner conversation you'd have in like college. And there's two like 50-something year old guys going on. And I've got another like one that almost that long with the boyfriend of Samantha Morgan, who I've already done one with. And that one hasn't even been released yet, but that one's going to be really good when you check that one out. So doing a bunch of stuff. And I'm still working on getting Mia Kate, the director from Australia. We're chatting back and forth. So I might be getting an interview with her here pretty soon too. So,
and just for a little bit of a rewind as far as what we're doing here at Movie Mainline, Bruce and Eric, can you guys talk about the whole conception of having the creator spotlight as sort of a important branch of what Movie Mainline wants to do down the road as we're building up our community?
Go, Eric.
Yes.
It's your baby, really.
Well, like it is why it's important, or I mean, it's important because a lot of people are doing cool stuff, and a lot of times, at least the way I think about it, like people talk about like the greatest drummer ever might be Neil Peart, might be John Bonham. The greatest band ever might be the Beatles, might be the Rolling Stones, or but those are the greatest of what we know about. And I submit that the greatest band is not the Beatles. First of all, I'm not a Beatles fan, but that's neither here nor there. And your favorite band is probably a band you never even heard of, because they're just playing in their own little area, city, wherever, and they don't break out from there. And it goes beyond bands, but the whole point is there's always people doing cool things, and they never expand. And that's fine. They don't all have to. Sometimes you just do stuff for fun, but it's always neat to kind of shine a spotlight on, hey, this band's really good, but have you checked out this one? Well, no, I haven't. And it's kind of, there's a bit of curiosity to it, I guess. And it's just kind of like when I was coming up, learning about movies, learning about music, learning about anything, I was always curious to find out more. I haven't heard that movie, let's go watch that. Oh, I haven't heard that band, let's go listen to that. And so it's always good. And well, like with Sam, for example, she does a blog. That's just short stories. And they're really good too. So it's always good to point people in directions where they wouldn't otherwise look.
That is cool. I just wanted to add in, I think that this is kind of Eric's concept and out of the gate, but somehow I've kind of taken it. So he just keeps sending me people. So I think it works out great because in a way, I agree with
guy.
I can talk, so it's no problem there. But I mean, I think the interesting thing about it to me is, and I kind of add on to his idea, is that, I just think there's so much if you get global, so much divisiveness, there's so much like misunderstanding of people and just assuming things about people. And I just think this is a great way, creativity, creating whatever is a positive thing in the world. But on top of that, we're giving connections. I mean, I've made friends out of this just because I'm talking to people I've never met before, other than my brother. I've met him. But, and I also don't limit it. I don't say, okay, we're going to talk to this and we're going to stop. I'll let it go. If it goes for an hour, it goes for an hour. And that is where I think you really get to know a person. You get to hear some really interesting ideas, and you maybe learn some things about something you never knew about. So for me, I think it's just value added all the way around.
Yeah.
Actually to that, to that point, there, and I had his name and I lost it. Part of growing old is your brain just walks away from you.
You
just
can't
walks
say
away from you.
Eric Holmes, you're the baby of the bunch. You can't say you're growing old because that makes me.
Yeah, but I have Alzheimer's
Purkey
in my family, so it's going to happen quicker for me than most people. Oh. And you'll get to watch it here on Movie Mainline every week. Just watch my brain.
Every week he tells us about the same movie. Oh yeah, it's all right. Still good.
I saw Gremlins again. But I forget the guy's name, and he's in the CinemAddicts group. But he's got a YouTube channel called Let's Crash This Parade.
Okay.
And it's a smaller YouTube. Mostly what he talks about is like the comic book movies and the Star Wars, and those are fine. Those aren't really, not usually what I gravitate towards. But then he's also got, like, every once in a while he's got these other videos where he kind of goes into deeper dives of just movie related concepts. He had one where it was a really good one where he was being kind of introspective, talking about I guess the thesis was, who the fuck am I to review movies? I don't make them. And and so he's kind of turning it on himself and kind of keeping himself straight of my brain's going away again.
Well,
I'm like Joe Biden. Vote for me, 2020 again. The Let's Crash This Parade. It's a really good. It's a really good YouTube channel, and you get the movie reviews. But I think where he really shines is when he goes off the rails a bit and goes into more deeper concepts of what it means to be a movie fan, or just watching movies in general. And
sometimes
it's pretty interesting.
Being a movie fan, I think especially these days, is because a lot of films are just so segmented in not segmented in a bad way, but just very diverse. Sometimes it's better to be a movie fan than a movie critic, because movie fans really know their stuff. And like you said, that guy whose name we're going to eventually get, the fact that he can go off those kind of tangents that maybe even a lot of movie critics don't do, because a lot of things with critics is we'll get a bunch of links, and our buddy Anderson always says the same thing. A lot of it is herd mentality. If you see on Rotten Tomatoes that a movie has 95% by the critics, and you're a critic, a lot of times, maybe, who knows, you might color your review. I'm not saying I do it, but I'm assuming the human condition is like, I'm not going to go against that grain. Right. Whereas a lot of people who really love film will be passionate and say, hey, you know what? I love George Lucas's Attack of the Clones. It's the best installment ever. And no movie critic's going to say that. One out of maybe 5,000 critics. So sometimes it's more interesting, I think, in my opinion, to hear what a movie, quote unquote, movie fan has to say. So, that's the most important part. With here in Movie Mainline, even though I'm a critic and interviewer, I think the most insightful stuff is from you guys. And Bruce, we're going to start with you first. Oh,
Jack Fitzpatrick. I knew I'd have to find it, but yeah, Jack Fitzpatrick does the YouTube channel Let's Crash This Parade.
Let's Crash This Parade.
One of these days I'm going to write this shit down before I actually say it, but yes.
Bruce Purkey. So give us a couple of picks for our Movie Mainline listeners, watchers. What can they watch or stream this week?
Sure. Did we want to rewind too, or do we want to not rewind?
You know what? This goes back to the part where Eric Holmes shouldn't complain about getting old. this is a sign of me being senile. Let's rewind to do some rewinding.
All right.
Bruce Purkey, do you have a rewind?
Very quickly rewind, because it's already been mentioned very well by Andrew, and Andrew watches movies, and of course Eric last week, and that is Detroit. I want to wholeheartedly recommend that people go out and check out Detroit. It is an amazing movie. And to quickly recap, that's the Catherine Bigelow 2017 movie about the 1967 Detroit riots. You got John Boyega, and I just want to make sure I write down Algie Smith. He's like the main character in this. Algie Smith is amazing. Will Poulter is kind of the antagonist as the especially not nice police officer in that movie. It's one of those movies to me that does what I think is great when you get a biopic, not a biopic, but a historical picture, in that it is not only really, really amazing at doing the period, it gives you a very compelling story, but as you're watching it, you're constantly asking yourself, if you don't know the facts of the story, which I did not know the facts of the story, I was constantly asking myself, is that real? Did that happen? What was the real facts? And I'm going back and I'm looking up these people. And they give you a little bit of the actual people in the movie, but you can still go down a rabbit hole. And it's, as we've discussed, or as Eric discussed last week, it's very timely. It's very, very instructional, I think, to people who aren't, I guess I say, entrenched in the experience that a lot of people have had. And it lets you, at least for two hours and 20 minutes of your life, have at least a slight understanding of what it means to be in those situations. So I say watch that movie now. And that is on Hulu.
If Detroit was, let's just say, released this Christmas, would it do better now than it did, 3 years ago?
I think so.
Maybe.
I mean, it's hard to say. I think awards wise, it would probably do better. I think. Yeah. I feel like, I don't even remember when it came out. I feel like it got a lot of flack, and I can't even remember why it got flack. I think, Eric, you said that people thought it was like violence for violence sake or something.
Yeah, they thought it was the criticisms I heard on it was fetishizing the violence, and and I think and it's not like this wasn't going on when it came. Like the police violence it's been in the news many times, and it comes in waves. As far as the wave that's happening now, hopefully it sticks and actually makes some change. But I'm not going to hold my breath because I've just seen it happen so many times.
Yeah.
Hope for the best, but what? But I mean, it's not like it was a new thing. But yeah, I think I don't know. People just seem to dismiss it for reasons I don't quite understand. But I don't know.
Yeah.
And one last thing, and then go ahead, Greg. But I was going to say, it also just reminded me watching it, like, why I'm so sad that John Boyega was trapped in Star Wars movies for the last 8 years or whatever, because I remember seeing him in Attack the Block and going like, who is this guy? He's amazing. And then seeing him in this, which was only a couple years ago, and kind of getting forgotten. And he's really, really good in this movie too. Even though he's not the main character, he makes a pretty big impact on it. He has a couple moments in there that are pretty impressive. I just am hoping for more great things from him.
How did you find it? Did you rent it? Was it streaming or? It's
on Hulu.
Oh, Hulu, my bad. Again, the senility. By the end of this episode, I'm going to turn into a pillar of salt because I'm so old and senile. I'm going to really decompose. Eric Holmes, what's your pick to top off the episode?
Well, if you're senile, I'm ocean Nile, so you're in good company. I went and checked out Crawl. Don't know where it's streaming. I just had it on DVD, so I just finally put it in.
It's on Hulu too.
It is? Well, there you go. But it's pretty straightforward. Just people running away from alligators, and it's exactly the movie you think it is, and it's exactly the movie you want it to be. And there's not much more I can add than what was already said, but other than, definitely gets points for, some movies try to be a little more than, they're afraid to just be the thing that it is. They try to make it bigger. And that can work sometimes, but sometimes you got a movie like Crawl, which is like, no, we're just going to run away from an alligator for an hour and a half. Cool, let's watch it. And it was really effective and a really good, horror movie.
Yeah,
Check out Crawl.
I saw Crawl in the theaters, and I absolutely loved it just because it stayed in its lane and it did all those things extremely well. It built up the tension perfectly. I was fine with the daughter and the father, the strange daughter, strange dad relationship situation. Barry Pepper is, to me, a national treasure. Great actor.
Yeah. That was another thing. It was good seeing Barry Pepper again.
So
I always forget how much I love him until I see him in things. I'm like, oh, that's right. That's right. He is in Battlefield Earth. That's why I love this movie.
Yes.
That was one of the worst experiences of my life, Battlefield Earth. I was questioning my life as a junketeer, my job after I was emotionally distraught after watching that movie. But he's been in great movies. So it's great to see Barry Pepper again with Crawl. And Bruce, you of course you enjoyed that as well. And it was
I like just what Eric was saying. It's kind of like VFW is kind of like the action version of that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it does what it does and it does it well. And both of those, what they do really well is they keep finding creative ways to make it interesting as it goes along. Like there's alligators in a basement, but they keep having different predicaments and different ways that they have to encounter the alligators and ways to introduce people into the situation and stuff. So they just keep it rolling. So you're not just like, oh, it's the same problem the whole time.
Also, I'm not sure how to say this without a spoiler. So maybe I'll just be really cryptic about it. Although I'm sure everyone in the world has already seen Crawl except me. So, but, we'll just say the body count's very low in this one.
Okay. Fair
but
enough.
it still has the stakes of a movie where people are getting killed left and right.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yep.
Definitely.
It's good. It's great.
Definitely fair. And there's some really cool action set pieces in the rain, which is really well done, and it's scary and it's fun, and I'm glad I saw this in the theater.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Eric Holmes, have you heard of? Did you ever watch Happy Days as a kid?
Like with the fawns?
Yeah, with the fawns. with the fawns.
I was like, is this a trick question?
Or in my case, Ralph Malph, my favorite. I still got it when he never really did, but yeah. So you were a fan. Bruce and we talked about this earlier today. Do you remember Leather Tuscadero, played by Suzy Quatro? That was the one who.
No.
Did she do like this, like that?
Yeah, she was Pinky Tuscadero's like little sister or something, right? Pinky Tuscadero was with the Fonz, but Leather Tuscadero's who caught my eye as a 12-year-old pre-punk rocker. I guess.
Yeah, and I forgot her storyline in Happy Days. Anyways, so she was popular as Leather Tuscadero in Happy Days. This is the actress Suzy Quatro, but before Happy Days, she was best known as, of course, Suzy Quatro, a rocker, and she's had her share of hits. And this documentary looks at the life of Suzy Quatro. She's now, I believe, 70. She was born in 1950. So it traces her career when she was part of an all-girl band, which was with her sisters, and how she broke away from that band and ultimately went off to London to continue her rock career as a solo artist. Well, of course, she had a band, but it traces her life and how she actually, Bruce, you were talking about punk rock, how she actually influenced a whole generation of rockers, even though she moved to London probably in the early to mid 70s, came back for Happy Days for a couple of seasons, for a couple of years, and then went back to Europe. A lot of her success has been in Europe, Suzy Quatro's success in Europe, Australia, internationally, and she never really achieved the huge amount of success as her almost contemporaries who are interviewed in this documentary. It's a great documentary.
Would I assume that contemporaries would be like the Runaways and Joan Jett, people like the Bangles and Go-Go's and stuff like that? Or?
Right. So to your point, Kathy Valentine from the Go-Go's, Katie Tunstall, Danita Sparks from L7, Henry Winkler from Happy Days, Joan Jett, and Sherry Curry from the Runaways. They're among Alice Cooper. They're some of the people who are interviewed in SuzyQ. And what's cool about this documentary is it's not a talking head documentary a lot, but when it is, Quattro is such an interesting and likable person, and she doesn't pat herself on the back. She's not a narcissist. She really just wanted to follow her own path as an artist, and you really see her take her lumps throughout her life, and it's really, and her relationship with her family is a little bit strained, and you get to see a sneak peek into that. So she actually wanted to make the documentary pretty truthful, and sometimes a lot of documentaries, they end up being sort of almost close to just fan dedications to the artist, which is fine, especially if you're watching it and that's what you want. But this one is more of a realistic look through Suzy Quattro's life. So Suzy Q, it comes out on VOD and DVD on July 3rd. I highly recommend it. Here's the thing. Even if you're not a fan of rock, of her music, okay, which her music is very catchy, okay, it's an inspiring story, just a universal story about just never giving up. I mean, I'm close to 50, and every single day, I barely have energy to, when I think of all the things I have to do, I usually curl up in a ball and play video games. But talking to someone like that who's just really on the go at her age, and she's still doing the work, putting in the work. She released an album last year. I just got to give her credit. So it was a really cool documentary. Suzy Q. That's my big pick this week. So
cool.
Bruce, what do you got, Bruce?
All right. Well, I have 3 movies, but I'll start with, we're going to rotate around. Each of mine were recommended by one of the other movie mainliners. If you guys remember that's what we're doing this week. So the first one is from our absent, long lost Luis. And it's The Lost City from 2005, directed by one Andy Garcia. This is available on Tubi. And this is the epic story. I had to look up some of these names so I don't forget them. The main character is Fico, and that's played by Andy Garcia. And this is an epic story of kind of these 3 brothers pre-Castro. So they're right at the end of the Batista reign in Havana. And Fico, who is Andy Garcia's character, he kind of is the main guy running this very popular nightclub. So you get a lot of music in there and dancing. And one thing you got to say about this movie is, even though it has some kind of not soap opera, but maybe a little bit romanticized elements to it, it really presents a really lush, beautiful view of Cuba and Havana and the whole scene there. And it really, you can feel there's a lot of love there, and kind of wistful too. Like it looks back at a time when they wish it kind of could be there again, which I think a lot of people feel about Cuba because of what has happened there. So anyway, you have these 3 brothers, and it starts out and you're thinking to yourself, okay, this is like a Godfather, right? Yeah. You got the 3 brothers and the whole thing, but they're not criminals. None of them are criminals. So basically the difference is that, or mobsters, I should say, they are all on different sides of the coming revolution. And you get to kind of see how that plays out, where one brother is maybe wholeheartedly going Fidel route, another one is doing another route, and then you've got Fica, who kind of just wants to maintain the status quo. They're wealthy, they're well-to-do in this current scene, but you also find out it doesn't take much for the corruption of the Batista pre-Castro reign to come hard onto them too if they do the wrong thing. So it's a very lush, very romantic, sweeping epic. I would say if that sounds interesting to you, or you know nothing about the scene, you could definitely go in and have a good time with it. I would say if it has a drawback, it's really, to me, that some of the dialogue and some of the romance stuff in there is a little bit cliched, but there's so much good in there to pull you along that you can kind of overlook that. I will also mention quickly, there is Bill Murray plays a character in here, which is very odd. He's kind of they just kind of call him the writer. He's kind of a writer / comedian, and he's just kind of in the room in certain scenes. And I'm never quite sure what his character was supposed to do there. He's almost like the American expatriate who just hangs out with these rich people, and he has some past, but you never kind of know what it is. And then you've got a little quick scene or two from Dustin Hoffman as Meyer Lansky, and he's trying to basically, get the mob's, clutches into this club and stuff. And he doesn't have a huge role in it, but he kind of comes in and chews the scenery for a couple moments there. So, but it's really the Andy Garcia show, like all the way. So, it's pretty cool. That's on Tubi. You can check that out.
Tubi. Oh, cool. What is your favorite Andy Garcia movie, folks? Chime in. I'm going to start. I'm going to start. Things to do in Denver.
I gotta cheat.
Things to do in Denver when you're dead, folks. Things to do in Denver.
I'm trying to think of it.
I gotta say, isn't he's in the original Ocean's 11? Well, not the original, but the first one that was made by what's his name?
Steven Soderbergh. Yeah,
I really liked him in that, and I think his character in that, although he's more evil in that one, his character is very similar. I don't know what it is, but I mean, damn, these people in this movie, everybody is just, they're dressed to the nines, and the scenery is just beautiful. I mean, it just makes you want to just hang out in that world because they just look impeccable. Everyone's beautiful, and the guys and the women are just like gorgeous, and you're just like, oh my God. And everyone's dancing and singing, and it's just like, oh my God, it's good stuff.
Geostorm was that was a good bad movie.
Geostorm.
Smoking Aces. He was in Smoking Aces. That was a good one.
Yeah, again, things to do. I'm surprised, Eric Holmes. Things to do in Denver when you're dead. Boat drinks. Man, that's a great movie. I mean, had some really great lines. And when he actually, I forgot what his name. Oh, his name is Jimmy the Saint, and he actually seduces Gabriel Anwar's character, and he says, most women thump. You float or you glide, something like that. He did a really good job. Christopher Lloyd's in it. I mean, I thought you probably saw it years ago, Bruce, maybe back in the early 90s.
I saw it like way back when it came out, and I barely remember it, but I remember it being fun,
Yeah.
Kind of a whole bunch of characters, crime caper sort of kind of thing.
Untouchables, Black Rain, and The Best Godfather. The third one.
Untouchables. He's awesome in Untouchables. I forgot about that.
In the Untouchables.
Yeah.
He's also a great a person to interview. During the Ocean's 11, we had a little press conference in a room in the Four Seasons, and I think it was, if I recall, there were just a bunch of actors like maybe Julia Roberts, Brad Pitt, Soderbergh, and I think Garcia was there too. And everyone was talking about how the main Ocean's 11 actors, they cut their fee just so they could be in this movie. And Garcia just says, you know what? We always talk about cutting our fee, but our lowest fee is more than anyone else makes. So we should not be complaining about cutting our fee, because even at the lowest minimum that we were making for this movie, that's higher than most people can ever make in their lifetime. So it was cool that he set the room straight with that answer. And unfortunately, I'm sure some of the other people at the press conference felt a little bit, I don't want to say ashamed or embarrassed, but they're like, maybe Andy Garcia is right. So really, really cool dude. So yeah, Untouchables. That's a good. Is that your pick, Eric Holmes, for your favorite as far as
I'd say Godfather 3. I'm not joking. That's my favorite Godfather movie. As much shit as everyone gives it.
Really? We may have to devote a future Movie Mainline podcast about unearthing the true magic. The lost city that is Godfather 3. My goodness.
He's really good in Lost City too. He's amazing in it.
Yeah. Oh, he's really good in Lost City. Okay.
He is. He owns it. I mean, it's his movie. You can tell it's his labor of love. So he's really, really good in it.
I have a feeling Eric Holmes is sad that Sofia Coppola didn't act more after Godfather 3. If you said
that. She's a big time director now. So.
Speaking of Eric Holmes, I'm still flabbergasted about Godfather 3. Wow, it has a great song from Harry Connick Jr. Promise Me You'll Remember. That's a great song.
I just like we should just do a one on Godfather 3. But my favorite thing about it is that it's the chicken's coming home to roost. Godfather 1. Godfather 2, it's like they do this shit. They keep doing this shit. They keep falling down this spiral, and they think they get away with it. No, they don't. Godfather 3 is everything just coming back to bite them in the ass. And it's for anyone saying that, I don't like Wolf of Wall Street because it glorifies this sort of lifestyle. Yet they'll shit on Godfather 3, the one movie that literally Al Pacino gets paid back for everything fucked up he's done in the previous movies. And then they get that shit, so I don't understand why. But yeah, Godfather 3 is... Oh, fuck. You know what? My first movie, Godfather 3, let's talk about it. No, I'm not going to... I know that it's an unpopular opinion, and I'm not being contrarian, but I just like 3 movies in general, like the number 3s in general. Alien 3, I love that. Superman 3 is the best one.
Halloween 3.
If there was a Gremlins 3, that'd probably be the best Gremlins. I mean, 3s are fucking tight.
Wow, that is very cool.
Good.
Okay, that is very good opinion there, Eric. What is your next pick?
Well, I guess technically my first pick. Let's start with something a little greasy. I saw
Bullshit
the
artist. Bullshit artist.
BULLSHIT. Bullshit artist. 2016 movie by Jim Hosking. It's called The Greasy Strangler, and this is 100% a movie. I would say the best way I could describe it is if Napoleon Dynamite was a John Waters horror movie.
That sounds good.
Yes.
That sounds
and
very
it's
good.
it's a horror movie because it's Greasy Strangler. He's a serial killer. God, how do you even describe this movie?
It's not.
You can't spoil it. It's impossible.
It's not good, but it's memorable, and for some reason, I think I hate it, but I also love it at the same time.
Yeah.
I really do hate it and love it at the same time. And like you said, here's another way I think you describe it. You know how there's that idea in comedy that if you just keep repeating something enough, it becomes funny. It goes from being funny to not funny and then comes back to being funny again. Well, that's kind of what this movie is.
What kind of chips were they?
Chips. Jokes. Potato. Potato.
What kind of chips are they?
Potato.
What kind of chips are they?
Potato.
Say that again.
Potato.
Wait, I couldn't hear you. Say it one more time.
Potato.
What kind of chips are they?
Potato.
I couldn't hear you. What kind of chips are they?
Potato.
That is exact dialogue from Greasy Strangler, and we cut that in about a fourth.
Wow.
This movie is so fucking weird, and it's like, and it's gross too, but not so much the gore. I mean, the dude eats grease all the time, which, you know, given the name, I guess maybe you should have expected that, but it's not gross in that there's a bunch of, you know, heads being blown off or anything like that. It's what would I call it? Like the main characters, the characters are kind of gross. Like,
and they're like almost always in like Speedos, like an old
underwear, or naked. Those are the two: underwear, naked, or wearing all pink. That's like their only wardrobe. Which
you guys were laughing a lot throughout the movie, then, right?
Kind of. I'm mostly just watching the movie, going, "That was a choice." I would definitely recommend it. I don't know that everyone will like it, but you're not going to forget it. That's 100%.
Yeah.
Do you see Greasy Strangler? Maybe. No, you know. If you see even with my fucking donkey brains leaving me, the fucking Greasy Strangler. Okay, here's an example. So after the potato chip thing, Greasy Strangler comes in Potato. Oh, potato. But so the Greasy Strangler comes and chokes his shit out, like kills the 3 guys. And then after he gets done killing people, he goes to a car wash to walk in it and get all the grease cleaned off of them. And then the car wash owner is a blind guy. And so he's like, "How much is it?" And he's like, $10. He's like, "Bullshit artist. All right, here you go." And he hands him a piece of paper with $10 written on it. And you're like, oh, okay, he's trying to get one over on a blind guy. Not so much, because later on he goes to a hot dog vendor and orders a hot dog, and it's like, how much is that? And it's like $3. It's like, bullshit, artist. And then he's like, here you go. And he gives him 3 pieces of paper with $1 written on each one. So this movie just the money in the movie is actual paper with dollar signs written on it. Like that's the kind of absurdity that this movie is. It brings you into this weird world, and you're either in or you're out, but I don't think the movie cares. It's like, this is what we're doing, fuck you if you can't take a joke, I guess. But wow. Yeah, it's it's something else for sure.
Yeah, it's out there.
Recommend it, but you might hate it.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend this to certain people, but I wouldn't definitely recommend it to like just the average person. Also, just really quickly, we were talking about the middle class film class. They actually interviewed Michael St. Michaels on a recent episode. So,
oh wow!
So is his wiener really that big, or did they ask? Or?
He talked about the prosthetic a little bit, if I remember correctly.
Prosthetic.
So, yeah, he was just telling them that to make them feel better about themselves.
Stunt cock.
That's cool. Was he on for a while, Michael St. Michaels?
They talked to him for a good 10-15 minutes or so. It was pretty interesting. Yeah, you won't forget him once you've seen him. He's a guy.
So you would sort of recommend it to people who really like these
I would absolutely recommend it to everyone, because it's one of those movies. It's
moms, kids.
Actually, yeah. My sister doesn't like horror movies at all. Like, to just paint a picture, she won't watch Twilight because she's afraid of it. It's like, it's scary. I'm like, it's Twilight. This is like, it's chick flick. It's right up your alley. And she's like, no, I'm afraid of vampires. I'm like, oh Jesus, all right. So, but I totally want her to see Greasy Strangler, because it's just so different and weird. It's definitely entertaining. I would just recommend it to everyone. Not everyone's going to like it, but I think it's just one of those movies that's so out there, you kind of have to see it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then whether or not you like... I'll say this. Watch Greasy Strangler. If you're 10 minutes in and you're not feeling it, just bail, because it's that and even crazier as it goes on. Oh, and dude, that ending... I did not understand that ending. When they're tied up, I don't want to give it away, but when they're tied up on the poles, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
That doesn't even make sense.
No,
I saw it with my own. I saw it with my own eyes. It happened in front of me. I'm watching it, and then I'm just thinking to myself, I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand what this is.
This is definitely. There's a few of those movies you encounter in your life where you question the sanity of the filmmaker making it, and this is one of those that kind of puts.
I don't question it at all. I don't question it at all. I do not question Jim Hoskins' sanity at all. Jim Hoskins is a fucking maniac. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's kind of like when I saw Eraserhead the first time or something. You're like, oh, what the fuck, So yeah.
Yeah, I don't question David Lynch's sanity either. Yeah. He's fucking nuts too. But I love him.
Yeah. Greasy Strangler. Okay. All right. I might give that I'm going to, you know what? That's a good piece of advice, Eric. I might give it 10 minutes and see what happens after that.
Yeah. If you get 10 minutes and you just can't get with it, then just bail. But if you're 10 minutes in and you're like, and then what? And then it'll just keep getting weirder as it goes along.
I support that advice.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay, what is a good movie that you definitely recommend, Bruce? What's another?
Next is Greg's suggestion for me to watch. And he had me watch Bad Company from 1972.
Yes,
and this is by
Bad Company.
Not the Bad Company, not that Bad Company, and not the Bad Company which stars Chris Rock and Anthony Hopkins. Not that one either.
Right.
Not the song Bad Company by the band Bad Company off the album Bad Company.
That was named after the movie Bad Company, because the band went and saw the movie before they had their band name, and they named themselves Bad Company. So that is an interesting fact that I found out when I was watching this movie.
Well, there you go.
It's by Robert Benton, the director. He did Kramer versus Kramer. It's probably his biggest movie. Also Places in the Heart. That's another huge one he did. But this is, I think, his first feature, if I'm correct. This is on Amazon Prime. Now, a couple other notable things about this, other than the band Bad Company is named after it. It is Jeff Bridges, a very young Jeff Bridges, and he definitely steals the movie. I mean, you can see even then, I mean, he had to be, I don't even look, but 20 maybe when he made this movie, 19. But I mean, he comes off the screen and you know this is someone you're going to see more of. But it is the first time that he meets up in an acting role with David Huddleston, who is the Big Lebowski in The Big Lebowski.
Oh, right. Yes.
So it's a prequel to The Big Lebowski.
Totally. I was like 150 year prequel.
Hey, watch that. Then Big Lebowski. Then was it Jesus Rolls that just came out?
Yeah, right. So David Huddleston comes in and he plays the character Big Joe in this movie. And he's a part of a gang of I guess you'd call like bandits out in the West. So here's the basic concept. Supposedly the main character in this movie is played by Barry Brown, a guy named Drew. And it starts out, it's kind of interesting how it starts out. It starts out with this kind of like a prison cart rolling through town, and it's picking up people to go to the Civil War. Like, you haven't come and volunteered for the Civil War. We're going to come to your house. We're going to come into your house and we're going to take your oldest kid or your old enough sons. We're going to put them in the cart. We're taking them off. They're going to fight in the war. So basically this Drew character is given a few dollars by his parents. It says, run away, go west, get out of here. We don't want you to die in the war because your older brother already died. And he's a young kind of wide-eyed Christian boy with, upstanding morals. And very quickly he ends up in kind of the crossroads town. I don't know if it said, I forgot, but it's kind of somewhere around like, St. Louis area or something. And that's like the gateway to the West, So basically he goes to this town, he's going to try to get a stagecoach or whatever. And he meets up with, the character that Jeff Bridges plays is Jake. He meets up with Jake, and Jake says, hey, you'll never get west the way you're trying to go. Come up with us. And this is after Jake has already knocked him over the head and robbed him. And then, they kind of re-meet each other again. And he's like, no, you should join up with my gang. We can do this. We're all together. Let's go west. And, we'll get you there. Just as long as you put in your money and help us, do various crimes to just get money from people and make our way west. We'll all go together. And they're all young too. I mean, they one of the kids with him has got to be like, I don't know, 10 or something. One kid's really young. Mm-hmm. And the other guy you'll recognize in this is a very, very young John Savage. And John Savage is from Deer Hunter, right?
Yeah, the Deer Hunter.
Yeah, he's from Deer Hunter and a couple other things. But
Salvador, he was in Salvador.
Right. You'll definitely recognize him if you've seen some of those older movies. He showed up quite a bit in that era, and he's really, really young in this movie too. So anyway, there's these 4 or 5 young guys, and they start off west. And this is, to me, it's strongly in the camp of the kind of revisionist westerns that you're getting in the late 60s and early 70s. All your Wild Bunch, Bonnie and Clyde, which I believe I read correctly, Robert Benton wrote Bonnie and Clyde. He's a writer too. He did a lot of writing.
Yes, he did.
The Wild Bunch, Bonnie and Clyde, The Cowboys. Have you ever seen The Cowboys? That's the one John Wayne movie where John Wayne gets killed.
Yes.
With Bruce Dern, a young, evil Bruce Dern. So anyway,
evil shenanigans.
The good side of this movie is it's kind of got that very it's a very cynical view of the West. In fact, they meet people coming back east as they're going west, and the people are like, well, why are you going west? There's no reason. You're going to get there, and it's bullshit, basically, is what they tell them. And they're like, oh no, we know better. We're young. We're going to make it. It's going to be good. And it's a lot about the disillusionment, I guess, of this kind of concept of the West. And I'm sure when this is made, that's kind of going in with the disillusionment of the kind of American dream and a lot of those things you have happening with, the post-hippie era and all that stuff. So it kind of goes right in line with that. There's some pretty shocking, violent twists for a movie of that era, which I won't obviously give away. I would say on the negative side, there's a couple things that I didn't like about it, and I think this is just more the datedness of the movie. At the time, I wouldn't have probably even thought twice, but there's definitely some animal violence, which I didn't enjoy at all, like real animal violence, which nowadays they probably would just pull off with either CGI or puppets or something else. There's a lot of racial epithet stuff in here, which once again isn't so cool, but probably truthful to the era.
Yeah.
And the one thing that really bugged me, I hated the soundtrack of this movie.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, the soundtrack of this movie is like this piano, and it just sounds like one of those old-timey pianos, right? Like they're just playing it in the living room somewhere. And there's these moments where it'll cut into that old-timey piano, and then you got the main character who is actually kind of the dullest character, the kind of the innocent kid that's kind of going astray. He's kind of not so cool. Where he'll be like, "Ma," the piano start playing. It's kind of one of those like Civil War letter kind of things, like, "Ma, I find myself not faring as well as I wished I would have," that kind of voiceover kind of thing. And those kind of things don't date so well. And that's just kind of a stylistic, like, time thing. But if you kind of look past those things, all of the other stuff is pretty interesting. And it's a really pretty dark story, honestly. It's interesting movie, and one I'd never even heard of. So I don't know if Eric, have you ever heard of this movie? But it's different.
No, but the amount of times you say "Go West," it made me think of this.
Yeah. King of wishful thinking. I remember that. I'm glad you.
They were kind of the kings of wishful thinking in this movie, weren't they?
No, I personally, I really love this movie. I was fine with the score. It's a really interesting interplay between Jeff Bridges and Barry Brown. It really focuses on their friendship as they try to actually make their way out west, whether it's trying to rob people, or maybe they might have the tables turned on themselves as well, or maybe they're even double crossing each other. John Savage is one of the people in the group. So I don't know. I thought it was great to see a young Jeff Bridges in this movie. Barry Brown, he is the dullest character, but he is the straight man in this movie. Yeah. He's the guy who's the cipher, and who's everything bad happens to his character.
Yes. His charisma, though, compared to Jeff Bridges, Jeff Bridges was just running rings around him. That's the problem, though. Jeff Bridges just shines,
Yeah. The thing with the sad thing about Barry Brown, I actually looked him up on IMDb after watching this movie that I really dug. He died in 1978 at age 27. He committed suicide. I always wondered what would happen to this guy.
Wasn't he in Piranha? He was in Piranha, right?
He was in Piranha. And I think he was in a Peter Bogdanovich film. So no, it's a very interesting movie. I think I also loved, and here's the thing, I also love the visual compositions in this movie. Yeah. It's a very, very beautiful looking movie. And this is the reason why I can guarantee Eric Holmes is going to rewind. He's going to rewind and watch Bad Company down the road. Not because it's on Amazon Prime Video. Bruce gave it kind of a good review. I love this movie, but the reason
I would say it's good. I would say it's not as great as I probably would have liked it back then. It kind of dated back a little bit. Okay, so Bruce Purkey, good. Fantastic. Eric Holmes, you can take that and maybe rewind it, because the movie is shot by the late Gordon Willis. He died in 2014 at age 82. Gordon Willis is considered one of the best cinematographers in cinema. His last movie was The Devil's Own, starring Brad Pitt and Harrison Ford. Don't know if you like that one. But before that, Gordon Willis, Broadway Danny Rose. By the way, my favorite Woody Allen movie. He lends that. That's a good one. He lends The Purple Rose of Cairo. What else? Manhattan. Okay? Oh, God, so beautiful. Annie Hall, he did. The Drowning Pool, The Paper Chase. Of course, Gordon Willis lends, as we said, Bad Company. Last, but I guess in Eric Holmes' world, definitely not least, in 1990, he was the director of photography for The Godfather Part 3. Gordon Willis, your boy from the best ever Godfather made, Part 3, the cinematographer.
Greatest Godfather movie that has ever been made.
Support your local DP, even though this DP's RIP. Support Gordon Willis. watch Bad Company, and chime in down the road. Eric Holmes streaming on Amazon.
And support your local third movie in a trilogy. They work hard to entertain you, and they often get shit on.
Yes,
and they
Eric
don't
Holmes
deserve it.
You know what? I really actually I was thinking about this. I had a pick. I saw a movie a couple of days ago. Have any of you seen? I think we talked about this on a previous Movie Mainline episode. Have any of you seen any of the Up movies? 28 Up, 7 Up, 14 Up.
I've seen a couple of them. I think way back in the day.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh,
28 Up. I saw 28 Up, and I saw the one after that, which
up.
is 35 Up. I think I saw those two.
Okay. They're now at 63 Up. Okay.
Yeah.
Eric, you've never heard of these Up things, right? 23 Up. I mean,
I know what 7 Up is. It's a delicious beverage that you can mix vodka or whiskey in. Or
do you prefer
7
Up?
7, I guess, would be the obvious thing that I skip because I'm, donkey brains. But
there's also a movie called The 7 Up starring Roy Scheider, which I've not seen, and I heard that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's a good movie?
It's French Connection era-esque kind of movie, The 7 Ups. And Roy Scheider, if I remember correctly, plays a real bad dude, if I think I'm right about that.
Yeah.
So what are these Up movies?
Okay.
Explain
Great question, Eric Holmes. Are you a documentary fan? Do you love documentaries?
Yeah, I don't hate them.
Okay, well, when you see a good one, you're fine. I mean, you'll watch documentaries, okay?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to them. No.
Okay, back in 1964, the director Michael Apted, he's directed. You've probably seen a lot of his movies.
Oh yes,
Gorillas in the Mist. He did a James Bond film. He's done a lot of. I can't even name all the movies that Michael Apted.
I'm looking them up right now. That's
Thunderheart, Incident at Oglala. He's done a lot of really. I think he did this movie called. I don't know if he did Narrow Margin, but he's done a lot of movies. That said, I think he even did this movie called with Extreme Measures, maybe with Hugh Grant and Liz Hurley back in the day, or Sarah Jessica Parker. Anyways, Michael Apted in 1964, Eric, he started this documentary called the Up series. Actually, there's another director who started it. What they did was they documented 14 7-year-old kids in 1964. And the goal was to follow their lives every 7 years. So you have 14 kids in 1964. They check back on them when they reach 14, and they'll do some kind of movie on them. So every 7 years, if you're a documentary fan, you've been able to watch 7 Up, 14 Up, 21 Up. It got really popular here, to Bruce's point, when it became 28 Up. That's when like Roger Siskel and Ebert, what they were talking about, Michael.
I think they brought it to my attention was Siskel and Ebert. We're talking about it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. We're around the same age, Bruce. So I remember watching 28 Up, I think whenever back in the 80s or whatnot, and really enjoying that. So essentially it's a great documentary because it's essentially like Boyhood. It's Boyhood to the nth degree, where you see 14 kids as they grow up from 7 and now they're 63.
Okay, and some of them, like some episodes, they'll drop out. Like some years, they won't be able to find them. Or one guy was almost kind of homeless for a while, and you see all kinds of different things happen. It's really interesting.
Quick pitch. When the characters that they're following die, are they going to come out with a documentary called End Up?
End Up. That's a good question because it does end up. Here's the thing. Michael Apted now is, I think, 76 or 77, and 63 Up was just released last year. So in another 7 years, do you think, that's the big question, will he make a 70 Up at 83 or 84? Because obviously this is a lifelong movie of Michael Apted's, and it'd be hard for him to just hand over the reins to someone. It wouldn't be the same. But I don't know if 63 Up is going to be the last one. I wasn't able to actually watch 63 Up, but in anticipation of it ultimately streaming or getting it on digital, I decided to watch 56 Up. It's available on streaming via Hoopla. So obviously, if you have a library card, listener, just download it on your iPad or your phone. Hoopla 56 Up is available to borrow. Eric Holmes, I don't know if you have Hoopla as well, but you don't even worry about it being 56. Eric, you can actually watch 56 Up and be caught up with the entire series.
They
I gotta
usually,
tell you, I'm very interested in these.
yeah, they usually recap them.
You're selling me on this pretty hard.
If I remember correctly, every one of them, they'll do kind of like mini recaps of the previous ones. And of course, you're not going to get the full picture, but you're going to get enough that you kind of like will understand what each person's like and kind of a basic path for what they've gone through. Even though if you want to get the full, like I said, you go watch each of them individually. It's kind of funny because I think I had brought this up back when I had interviewed.
Brought up? Which one is that?
Yes, brought up when I had interviewed Barbara Kisokova, because when I was watching The Painter and the Thief, I told her I feel like that this is one of those kind of things where you could go back and interview them, 10 years later and see where they're at. It feels like one of those kind of stories. So anyway, yeah, that's a really fascinating series.
But yeah, Eric, 56 Up, definitely you can just. You won't be lost, because like Bruce said, when they get into a person's life, it's like seeing it for the very first time, and they edit the segments really, really well. And it's not a narrative dump, meaning you're so interested each little chapter. Basically, like Bruce said, maybe there's a couple of people every 7 years who drop out. So think of having a movie that's 2 hours, but every 10 minutes you have a different story. And each of those stories are very interesting because you get to really, in those 10 minutes, chart a person's life. It's fascinating.
Oh, they're only 10 minutes long. They're only 10 minutes a piece?
Exactly, because, if you're going to have maybe...
fuck.
No, but no, what's interesting... No, but think about it. If it's going to be 2 hours or 2 hours and 20 minutes, each segment is going to be about 12 to 15 minutes each. But
all right,
within each 12 to 15 minutes is different because it's really jam-packed with their lives. You really get a really, like Bruce was saying, a really edited segment that covers 56 to 63 years of their lives. It's fantastic.
All right, you said these are 10 minutes, around 10 minutes or so for each one?
person. Each person's going to have about that much time in the movie.
So like 7 Up is 10 minutes long, or 7 minutes?
No, there's like 12 people or whatever. So each person can only have so much time.
I got you.
So,
I got
yeah.
you. I thought the whole thing was like 10 minutes. I'm like, well, shit, if that's the case, I'll just watch all of them.
No, it's just no. It's basically, I think my suggestion is even though Bruce to Bruce's point, the most popular installment is 28 Up. 28 Up is the most popular because that's when you get to really learn about the guy who's homeless, Neil. He's considered the star of the whole series, but now there's so many years after 28 Up, you get to really each individual is very interesting. So I suggest Eric and listeners, whoever's watching this, start with 56 Up on Hoopla. Don't ever be intimidated that you're not behind the curve. You can just pick up and play, and you'll be immediately caught up. So 56 Up, directed by Michael Apted. Yes. And whose turn?
Bring up
Eric Holmes.
You'll be caught up.
Catch us up with your next pick.
The next one I got is this has probably been talked to death on other podcasts, which means we'll do it again here. It's King of Staten Island with what's his name, and Bill Burr and Marissa Tomei and Steve Buscemi, and it's a Judd Apatow movie, and it's a good one. I like it a lot. It's not Judd Apatow seems to be going in that not funny sort of direction. Not saying
This Is 40
again, this has been talked to death, so I'm sure you know what I mean, but it's not like a comedy. It's funny, but that's not what it's aiming for. It's aiming for getting you in the heart, getting you in the feels a lot of times.
So you're saying it's not knocked up?
No, it is not knocked up. I will say that the was it like 2.5 hours? It's pretty long. They could have cut that whole first half hour off. I was pretty okay. The opening scene where it's got what's his name? God damn, the main character.
Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson. Jesus Christ. My God, I suck. I need to stop smoking weed all the time. Pete David, the opening scene where he's driving the car and he closes his eyes and he just closes them tighter and he's still driving. And you're like, dude, there's something wrong with this guy. And he opens it and tries to swerve, ends up hitting a car and just driving off. And you realize that, wow, this guy's not stable, and he's kind of a piece of shit. And, it was really good filmmaking because in that short amount of time, you get exactly who this guy is. And then a bunch of nothing happens until Bill Burr shows up. Pretty much once Bill Burr shows up, I'm like, all right, now we got ourselves a movie. And Bill Burr's awesome. Marissa Tomei's awesome. But Pete Davidson's actually really good in this. I'm pretty sure it's basically his life. So, but yeah, it's Apatow's going in this direction. It's kind of on the level of Funny People, if you've seen that.
I love that movie. Yeah.
And there's not much more I can say about it. Oh, actually, no, I take that back. So Steve Buscemi, he's the chief fireman. This is Bill Burr. They pretty much the whole last third of the movie takes place in the firehouse. And I don't know if you guys seen the TV show Rescue Me.
Yeah,
I have. Dennis Leary. I love that show. I don't watch much TV, but I will watch that one, and that is good. And, I used to love Turk 182, although it's been a while since I've seen that. Backdraft.
I was going to say Backdraft.
As much as I have certain feelings towards cops, I have the exact opposite feeling towards firemen. And so I love movies about firemen. I love movies with firemen in them. But so like you got the Turk 182 and the Backdrafts, and those are fine. And then Rescue Me comes out, and Rescue Me pretty much messed up every other firefighter movie that came before or after because it's such a good show. Yeah, and it hits on so many different things like within that lifestyle that anytime some new movie or TV show or anything comes out, like they got the Chicago
Hope or
Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
I saw one of those. I'm like, God, this is like Rescue Me, but not good.
Did you see that? I'm looking right now. Did you see that 2017 movie Only the Brave? You ever see that one?
Okay, let me back up. Only the Brave is awesome. I'm gonna write that. I'm actually we'll table that for next week because Only the Brave is fucking tight.
Are you gonna assign me and Bruce a movie? Maybe
I will assign you Only the Brave next week. We'll talk about that next week. I'm gonna skip over Only the Brave.
Okay.
But yeah. Oh my God. If you're watching this, watch Only the Brave because next week we're gonna talk the fuck out of some Only the Brave.
Okay, we're gonna be doing some Only the Brave stuff. Okay.
But so anyway, Rescue Me just sets such a high bar for movies about firefighters that a lot of them don't quite touch it. And I thought that the end of King of Staten Island, the last third of it when they're in the firehouse, it reminded me a lot of Rescue Me. So there was a lot of shoe leather to get to. That part worked for me, and it worked well. All the firefighter stuff. And the way it ended was not where I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to go in a certain direction. I'm like, God, please don't go there. Like I'm all for melodrama and, being sappy, you get in the sappy moods, but I thought it was going to go in this really lame direction and it did not go there. I'm like, oh, fucking thank God. And it went in a direction you could probably see coming, but it was a good one. And yeah, King of Staten Island, it's a bit long. They could, just shave that first half hour, just take that completely out. But it's a good movie. I would check it out.
Cool. Ladder 49. How about that movie?
Yeah, it's a movie.
It's a movie.
The Greasy Strangler is a movie.
So I guess we're not. I was my plan to sub in Ladder 49 for Only the Brave was not successul. So I guess
no.
It's
dude. I cannot wait for next week. You guys. Oh my God. Can we just warn everyone? Can we do spoilers on Only the Brave next week? We'll do that last and we'll just do spoilers.
I'll be fine, yeah.
Because that ending is so good. I want to talk about it. But I also don't want to, if you're watching this and you watch this, Watch Only the Brave. Homework assignment for everyone. Watch Only the Brave. We're gonna spoil the fuck out of it next week, but it's gonna be so worth it. And, oh my god, I can't wait.
I'm so excited. I'm really excited. I love it the best when we're actually, we're giving movie recommendations, but when we get to actually all three of us chime in on a movie, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then when Lewis comes back and when all of us can do it, that's going to be even the best. We miss Lewis. We definitely miss Lewis. Now,
We do.
Bruce, what you got?
Well, I have the last assignment that was given to me by Eric. Do you remember what you told me to watch?
I do. Der
Yes.
Mann aus dem
Der
Eis.
Mann aus dem Eis. Yes. Iceman. 99-cent rental on Amazon. I'm sure you can rent it all kinds of places. I didn't see it free to stream anywhere. But I mean, 99 cents is a bargain for this movie. I'd say that. Okay.
Oh,
So
definitely.
what is Iceman? Iceman. It's based on Otzi, who is a very famous 5,000-year-old, was it Paleolithic man that was found frozen in a glacier in the Alps between, where did they say it was? Between Austria and Italy. And this is the most famous, you've probably all seen him. He's kind of that mummified Iceman that they found. He's kind of like sideways, like with his arms. And the idea is you're going to see the life of what led to that moment. What led to him being there frozen 5,000 years ago. Now, I would say, I guess the obvious things that people kind of think of right out of the gate is something like The Revenant. But to me, this is more like a Paleolithic Western almost. But it's very, very, very pure. Like, they have their language. They do not subtitle it. It's like, here's your people. Watch what they do. You're going to figure it out. And you do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So you just come in, and there's a lot I could spoil here. Let's just say that you get to see their life. You get to understand a few things about the main Iceman dude, which I think his name, I think I wrote it down, is Caleb, played by Jürgen Vogel.
Yeah.
He's pretty much your main guy in this movie. Although you encounter lots of different people, he's the guy you're following like 99% of that movie. And just warn you, it's like the life probably was back then. It's tough. You're going to see some rough things, but no rougher than you see in The Revenant. So if you were fine with The Revenant, you should be fine with this. It does an amazing job of presenting like a very realistic seeming version of life back then. I mean, everything seems physically made. Every prop seems like it was actually made out of stick or bone or whatever it was they were using. The huts or the living quarters, everything just seems very believable.
Wow.
And all I'll say is that you got the classic Western, right? You've got a town with characters in it. You have some characters come into the town and some events occur, and that leads our main character to go on a journey. And the journey is harrowing. It's exciting. It's beautiful because you've just got all this footage out. I mean, you just feel like you're walking through the forests in the Alps, and it's amazing. But at one point, basically, it's him, a baby, and a goat, walking through the hills. And I would just say it takes a few twists you don't expect. But that's not really the point of the movie. The movie isn't really a plot movie. It's just a movie. It's more like life in that era. But it does have a plot. Don't get that wrong. There is a beginning, middle, and end. There is a goal that he's out for. But things don't work out in quite the way you might expect. And the twists are very fun. There also is kind of God, I'm trying to do this. I have to be vague about this without giving stuff away. There is an element of like money or / religious iconography going on in here that is something people want. And there's definitely some kind of commentary going on in this about wanting those things over the more important things in life. And I don't quite have a grasp on that, and I'd have to talk off air on that one to Eric about what he thinks about it as well. If you know what I'm talking about, Eric, that's that box.
I think I know what you're talking about. The shiny thing.
Yeah, there's some interesting things there, and I don't want to really get into that because that's a big part of the story. And one other thing I'll mention, there's a character in here played by Franco Nero.
Django.
Wow, yeah, Django. Wow. That's really cool.
And I'm pretty sure, I'm not even sure I know who it was, but I'm pretty sure it's the really old dude that they encounter. It has to be, I think.
Yeah, he wears like he kind of looks like Gandalf almost.
Yeah. And that's a great sequence in the movie. And this is just a movie you should go watch. If you like movies, you should watch this movie. It kind of gives me the same feeling I got with movies like Quest for Fire, or
I was thinking that, yeah.
What was that movie? And I can't remember the name of it now, where the guy just has to go up and study the wolves back in the 80s. Crap. I have a hard time remembering this one.
Never Cry Wolf.
Yeah, Never Cry Wolf. Thank you. I like those movies where it's just like somebody in nature, and they have to kind of use their wits and they have to use their skills. And it's a really good movie. I
love the poster. The poster is just the dude, Iceman, I'm assuming.
Hey man, I'm the dude.
Not that dude.
Oh, different dude.
When they have Iceman, before he became Iceman, we have that man with his fur, with his coat, and I think he has some kind of weapon in the back, and he's out in the horizon amidst all the ice and the snow, and the tagline is, "They found a man, but not his story."
Yeah. I guess the last
it.
thing I would say about this is it's a testament to visual storytelling, because you don't have the language to help you along. So, but you do. It's really weird because they're saying things, you don't understand the words. They don't show you what the words mean, but you get it. And that's just a perfect example of how, if you're a really, really good storyteller, you're using the visuals, you're using the way you're shooting the scenes, the way that the characters are interacting with each other, just emotionally, you get it. You understand what's going on. The story
there's that part where they're at the beginning where they're having that funeral. They're like, "Tantan medelaho, tantan medelaho." You don't know what it is that they're saying, but considering that they're essentially at a funeral, it must be a prayer of something.
Yeah.
You'll have someone, you'll be walking, someone's behind them. He's like, "Ah." Yeah. Oh, you must be saying, "Get away." You know, that's the kind of that's the kind of language they use, and it's really, really sparse, but you get it. You don't need a subtitle at the bottom to say yes. The fact that they're like,
because you're telling
don't need
story that's human, you understand it. You're a human. But I mean, that's a perfect example too. Like, and I won't say what that person's following him for, but that person follows him, and that character's interaction with him changes throughout the story, but you understand why the things are happening with that character. Like, why that character's following him, and you know why that character does something else with him later, and then why that character doesn't do something else. And so little things like that, where it's like that, this is just telling a story in the most pure way, but it's still exciting, it's still interesting, it's still impactful, and it's amazing to look at and listen to. The soundscapes are really good too. I mean, when they're walking through those woods, I'm just like, damn, that's so cool.
I mean, you could take a couple lines out of this, and it would essentially be a silent movie. And you turn the sound off, you get everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
But the sound's really good though. Like the not that they speak a lot, but
the 99.
Don't turn the sound off. Just saying, you don't need to know what they're saying because.
And I don't want to undersell it. It's exciting. There are some super exciting set pieces in here. I mean, they're not set pieces that kind of classic like Indiana Jones kind of idea of set pieces, but there's some kind of action-y sort of moments that are pretty damn thrilling and will get you worried for characters, very much so, because you've seen the stakes early on are real too. Like, you'll see in this movie, like, okay, this movie's not going to spoon feed me. There's going to be consequences to certain things that happen. So
cool.
It's good.
So Iceman, only a 99-cent rental.
Yeah.
Before we go, do you guys have?
Actually, which is kind of a crime.
It is really.
No one knows about this movie, and yeah, it's so
it's
good. So
almost
good.
hard. I just want to even say it's hard to look up. Like, if you put in Iceman and look it up, a lot of times you'll get all these other Icemen. You won't get this one. And
it's like the Donnie Yen movie or Jet Li or something like that.
Yeah, you have to actually put in either the description, the actual words like you just said, or you have to put in Iceman and the year for it to pop up sometimes. Wow. So it's really one of those movies that could kind of easily get buried, and that's like the Iceman was. Too bad. So.
Okay, before we go, do we have any more quick little goodbye finale picks from either of you?
Yes.
Yes, Eric, let's hear it.
We'll just you know what? We'll go with this one. It's a series on Shudder, and it's called Cursed Films. This is directed by Jay Cheel, who actually is on a movie podcast I listen to called Film Junk Podcast. But it's on Shudder, and it's basically they take what they do, the Crow, the Exorcist, the Omen. I can't remember, but there's 5. I think there's 5 or 6 episodes, and they basically they start talking about the what would you call it? The urban legend of a movie that came out, and then they kind of lean on the urban legend, and then as the episodes go along, they kind of deep dive into, well, let's figure out what this legend is. And come to find out, it demystifies a lot of the legends of the movies and kind of brings you into a more realistic place of what happened. Like The Crow, I guess, would be the best example. They talk about like the curse of the dragon. Bruce Lee died, and now Brandon Lee died. And of course, I got to talk about this because I love Brandon Lee. And so they talk about like, oh, Brandon Lee, he had the curse that his father did, and blah blah blah, this and that. And then they go and show you the mechanics of what happened. And then they interview other people that were involved in the movie. They talk about the actor that actually shot Brandon Lee, and they go like, they talk about like what. Because they had nothing to do with him, but it had real life effects on him because I was the guy that pulled the trigger that killed someone, and I hate myself for it. And so it takes these fantastical urban legends, things that are mysterious and probably overblown, and really humanizes them and just kind of brings you down to earth. And it's a really good series. And there's only like 5 there's 5 of them, and about half hour each, so 2.5 hours. Bam, that counts as a movie. Cursed Films on Shudder. Watch it. It's great.
Cool.
Nice.
Cursed Films. And Bruce,
and also listen to Film Junk Podcast, because that's a good podcast.
Film Junk Podcast. Okay, Bruce, one more for the road.
All I'm going to do is forward promote the 3 movies I will be talking about next week, because I had 3 people assign me movies for next week. So it will be a slight preview, possibly, of our freaking one, too, because Andrew Martin is going to have me watch. These are all movies I haven't seen, believe it or not. Andrew Martin's going to have me watch Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Okay. Hell Comes to Frogtown. Wow.
With the awesome Roddy Piper. Mm-hmm. William Lindis is going to have me watch The Duke of Burgundy. Okay. And
Movie Bears podcast.
Movie Bears podcast. Andrew watches movies. And Peter Beta from the middle class film class is going to have me watch Bug, which I have actually never seen.
Oh,
yes, that's a good one.
So, but I might also have to watch Only the Brave, because I've never seen that either.
Oh, yeah, love it.
Well, so folks, for next episode, it's going to be.
We're only going to talk about Only the Brave next episode and nothing.
You know what? I'm going to actually, since I'm a physical media guy, I'm going to actually see if I can pick up the Blu-ray or DVD if it's in the local store. I just can't wait to
actually. Can we do that? Just so I don't go fucking nuts, because I will literally talk about Only the Brave all next episode if we do that. Can we just like touch on that and then do an Only the Brave episode?
Oh.
Can we do that? Like, can we do like that, just like whether it's 10 minutes, half hour?
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. So yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Let's do that, because I get so excited about that movie. I will just talk about that forever.
Wow. Okay.
I've never seen it, so this is another reason for me to watch it too. So
well,
we'll do like we did with the
Miracle
my
Mile.
fucking brain. Miracle Mile. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Bruce? I think Eric, though he is the youngest of us, he's getting a little bit forgetful too. So I think our old.
I told you I'm Ocean Nile. You're senile. I'm Ocean Nile.
Our oldness is infecting him. Our what is it? Our antiquated ways. It's coming. We're actually like we're the opposite muses. We're the opposite Circes. We're like Medusas. We're gonna turn you to stone. And we're gonna make you forget everything. But listeners, one thing: do not forget. Next week we're gonna start taping on Wednesday. Hopefully we will be a full crew with Luis Lacau joining us. That should be really cross fingers. That's gonna happen. And after that episode, we're also going to be cutting. We're also going to be doing a special only the Brave episode, deep dive on that. I'm assuming underrated. Well, it was critically acclaimed when it came out, but it's underrated because it didn't.
No one saw it.
No one saw it.
Well,
Eric,
we'll talk about that.
we're going to be talking. By the way,
and
Eric
Greg is going to rewind the Greasy Strangler, right? Isn't that what we heard him say?
Eric Holmes is talking like he's the brave scholar. I'm really excited to really get into this with Eric Holmes. So
this movie.
It's going to be awesome. Good. Okay, so everyone, anything else, guys, you want to say before we go?
I'm
all
good.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for listening.
I love all of you guys.
Love you,
especially you.
Yeah.
He's looking at me. I can tell.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
I'm looking at the listener. You're a beautiful person.
We love you, listeners. Thank you for
supporting
our Movie Mainline podcast. We are slowly but surely growing our community, and I'm so excited for next week. But most of all, have a great week, folks. And always contact us to give us some movie picks as well. We'd love to hear from you regarding your movie picks as well. All right, guys, take care. We'll see you next week.